Hello, good evening. Live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. This is News at 10 on TV3 and 3FM 92.7. You can follow our live stream on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. I'm Stephen Enti. Let's start with the major news highlights of the day. Minister for Aviation Cecilia Dapar has asked management of British Airways to treat Ghanaians with respect. The minister expressed strong reservations over the reported cases of bed bugs on an Accra-bound British Airways flight and cautioned no business entity would be allowed to take Ghanaians for granted. And the Director of Legal Services Division at the NCA, Abina Asafweje, has told an Accra High Court the money withdrawn from its account used in purchasing cybersecurity equipment did not have the approval of the board. She maintained that minutes of board meetings during the period in 2015 till date does not show any request and approval was brought before members of the board. And the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations says it is considering whether to confiscate or demolish unauthorized buildings on its lands at Bachona off the Spintex Road in Accra. The move, according to the Sector Minister Ignatius Bafwewa, is to allow space for the relocation of the Management Development Institute, MDPI. And in business, Exxon Mobil has signed a petroleum agreement with the government of Ghana to acquire exploration and production rights for deep water Cape 3 Points block. The agreement is subject to parliamentary approval. And on the international front, Cape Town water ration. Cape Town will next month slash its individual daily water consumption limit by 40% to 50 litres as the city battles its worst drought in centuries. Mayor Patricia Leleo has warned if rains do not materialize and drastic consumption reductions are not achieved, the normal water supply will be shut down. She said, and I quote, "We've reached a point of no return. We can no longer ask people to stop wasting water. We must force them." Those were our major news highlights. Remember, you can hear us live on 3FM 92.7 and around the world. We're streaming on the internet at 3news.com. Up next is a big one. Welcome back. Now, Exxon Mobil has signed a petroleum agreement with the government of Ghana to acquire exploration and production rights of deep water Cape 3 Points block. The agreement is subject to parliamentary approval. The petroleum agreement was signed on January 18, and Ghana's oil exploration activities is expected through this agreement to increase with the coming on board of Exxon Mobil. The move will also, we're told, increase government's revenue from the sector for the economic growth and transformation of various sectors of this economy. And Energy Minister Boakye Jako highlights some of the fiscal terms in the agreement.
What we did today was to bring to finality a model petroleum agreement that was initiated with Exxon Mobil. It contains all the standard terms, but I think the most interesting are the fiscals. So, for example, GMPC's carried interest has moved from 7.5% to 15%. We have additional entitlements. We have additional oil. The tax has remained 35%. the royalties have gone up from 2.5% to 3%. So the fiscal terms that we negotiated with Exxon Mobil, on balance, compared to the previous agreements, are better than those. But this is because we have had 10 years experience in the oil industry. And the lessons learned over the 10 years has informed how we negotiate and what we have negotiated in this particular contract. And this particular one is a 25-year contract. See, in the oil business, because of the capital intensivity of the investments, it has to be done for the long haul. You want a company that will come and stay for the long time. BP has been operating as an oil company for 100 years. They have been in countries where they have stayed for 30 years contributing to the economy. We do not want companies that will come do the drilling, exploitation and exploration, and in 10 years they are off. So we welcome them to a long stay, and we believe that their competence will add to the economy.
Right, so let's get onto the line and speak with Koko Opoku, who is an energy expert. Mr. Opoku is the chairman and CEO of FKP and Rolled Investments Limited, an energy expert, joining us on Skype now. Mr. Opoku, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on Skype. Your headroom, if you could tweak your device a little bit, great. So we can see you now. Beautiful. Now, in the interaction with the energy minister, he gave the indications. And the fiscals he narrates, I want to go through some of the fiscals he mentions. He says that the GMPC's carried interest has increased from 7.5% to 15%, and the country gets additional oil revenue. But here is the deal. Exxon Mobil is the largest refiner and marketer of petroleum products in this in the world. Now, it's coming on board with an interest stake of 80%. GMPC gets 15%. And we're told that the Ghana government is having to work with Exxon Mobil to identify a Ghanaian company which will take the remaining 5%. These fiscals, are they a good deal? Is this an indication that this is win-win for us?
Well, good evening and good evening to your viewers. How are you and Happy New Year?
Many happy returns, sir.
Well, you see, the way the statement is being put out there is as if nobody is aware of the Petroleum Act 2016 that was passed. You see, in the past, you had the PNDC Law 84, which formed the basis for exploration and production agreement. That was repealed 2 years ago by the Petroleum Act 919, which is the Act 2016. Now, that laid the basis for any negotiation in production and exploration. So when the minister now says that it is the best deal ever negotiated, every petroleum agreement that was negotiated post-2016 is of the same format.
Mr. Opoku, we still are getting your headroom a bit good, great, because our viewers are not able to see a clear shot. So what you're saying...
Yeah, what I'm saying
what you're saying in effect is that we could have gotten a better deal?
No, it's the deal that everybody gets. Before, let me explain. In the past, individual companies will come into Ghana and negotiate their own terms with GMPC. Now, those terms are now taken to the parliamentary session and approved in parliament. That was based on the PNDC Law 84, which is what Cosmos and Tulo and all the companies that came initially, that is what they got. Now, when the Exploration and Production Act 2016 was passed, there is a format which everybody now gets. So it is nothing new. If another company comes in tomorrow, they will be given the same format, which is the 15% GMPC, 5% local content company to use that, and all that Exxon Mobil got. The good news with this is that, look, the likes of Exxon Mobil, when they are in your country to do exploration, it gives confidence. It gives other companies confidence to now make sure that they follow suit. It is not something that is unprecedented, because any petroleum agreement that was signed post 2016 is of the same format. So I don't get this thing about it is the best ever signed. That's the bit I'm trying to explain.
And also, I recognize the magnanimity of ExxonMobil's presence, but the reality is also that they're getting more. For example, they're getting up to about 57 miles off the coast of Ghana and approximately over 1,482 kilometers in water depth. This is a lot of exploration zone they have. So it's like they're coming, the big players are here, but we're also offering big. Isn't it what it is?
Well, we have to offer more for them to come, because you see, the amount of money they have to spend before they get anything is huge. And in exploration, before you can now get one discovery, you would have to spend close to over $100 million to $200 million before you even get any sign of discovery. So the work program that Exxon Mobil will have to do, being in deep waters, is quite huge. And you cannot, as a country, we are not spending any money. You know, in the past, when Ghana tried to do exploration on its own, by trying to say, look, let's get a rig, let's do these things on our own, we spent a lot of money and we made no discoveries. So the only way you can get the likes of Exxon Mobil to come into your country to explore oil is if you are to give them a bit more carrots.
Interesting.
And
so
it is safe. Say that again.
So no, I was asking a follow-up. I mean, you said that the only way you can do this is to give them a bit more carrots. But you are not happy with the process. You think that the process could have been made better. For example, they didn't follow through their appropriate laws, and the minister is saying that, well, the negotiations and agreements started before that law came into force. You're not happy with it?
No, I'm okay with it. All I'm saying is that the minister made a statement. If you listen to the minister's statement, he said that it is the best deal ever signed. And I'm saying that it is the best deal ever signed because the new law that was passed in 2016 stipulates that that is the deal that everybody gets. So it is not that somebody has done something different from what the law asked them to do. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Interesting. So as fuel prices keep going up, what is the way forward? Does this change anything at all?
No, it doesn't, because Ghana, we are net importers of finished products. The only thing that I would want the ministry to do is that if the likes of Exxon Mobil comes into the country, if they make a discovery, we will now move away from the FPSO-based production that we've been doing with all the companies. We will now pipe the crude oil onto our shores, have refineries and petrochemical industry coming off the back of some of these discoveries. So far, we are going to have 4 FPSOs offshore Ghana. Some of us have engaged the ministry and they've given us the assurance that going forward, any new discoveries will not be an FPSO-based production. And we are hoping that if the likes of Exxon Mobil, which have deep pockets and they have the money to do the pipeline and storage on our shores, they will be encouraged to not do FPSO where the production is done in the deep sea and it is sent out. The crude oil is piped into the country and we build petrochemical industry. That is the only way that Ghana will get added benefits and grow jobs that the government wants to do.
But is that your expectation?
Well, we hope it happens. I mean, I have made a very strong case to the ministry on this, and we wanted to start that with the Hess production, but we were told that Amada Hess, which is coming on stream very soon, is far advanced in the acquisition of the FPSO. So it wasn't difficult to start that new developmental plan of basically doing away with the FPSOs and making sure that we pipe the crude oil and have a storage onshore so that refineries and other petrochemical industries can now come around some of these storage facilities. I'm hoping that that did not fall on deaf ears, and going forward, new discoveries would be encouraged not to do FPSO. That way, we can have refineries, and it will help with some of these problems of increases in world market price of refined products affecting Ghana directly. If we produce refined products locally and we have big refineries in Ghana, then we might not be directly hit when there are increases on the world market.
Right. Mr. Opoku, grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. Mr. Koko Opoku is an energy expert, and you heard his views there. I'm Stephen Enti, and this is News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda, and you can also hear us on 3FM 92.7. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back. Now, the Ghana Standards Authority says it is poised to assist garment manufacturers to come up with right sizing. Ghanaian apparels are rejected on the international market because their sizing is below standard.
Sizing remains essential to apparel manufacturing. Years back, many people preferred to buy fabrics and have them sewn after their measurements were taken, rather than buy already-made clothes. The danger, however, is whether it will fit. Sizing, according to experts, remains a major factor depriving Ghanaian apparels from international patronage.
The garment workers, do they understand, do they have the required skill, or do they need an enhancement of skill to enable them compete very effectively with other garment workers in the traditionally known garment production countries? If not, then I think clearly we appreciate that we need to get in some expertise to conduct some trainings, even on the factory floors or in the sector, to enable us to compete very effectively.
Participants at a stakeholders forum in Accra shared ideas on the way forward. The Ghana Standards Authority says it is ready with all it takes to help manufacturers overcome this.
Anybody who wants to import any of the Ghana products, we want to be sure that it meets the right standards, it meets the right quality, and the appropriate body to conduct this is the Ghana Standards Authority.
Participants were taken through presentations on the need for appropriate tools in measuring people.
If you want to compete with the whole world, you want to export to the America, this is the standard that they will be using to judge you. So it is important that no matter how your level, once you want to enter into the international market, you should face up to the standard.
Gideon Nyamison represented the National Tailors and Dressmakers Association.
Challenge of sizing, measurements, and those stuff. So what they are doing right now is very relevant to what we do, and I think it's a very big step towards, resolving this challenge.
It doesn't have control over zip, works, and all those notions, but because for me, I don't have any other alternative, I have to go there. So GSA also must able to meet and make sure that anything that comes into our market should be conforming to the standard that we are talking about.
The Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority says it is time we moved away from these.
When you're buying a dress, you're attracted to it, but the next thing you do is the size. We do know that in countries where there are laws, return clothes, 60% of all return clothes is due to the sizes. Our problem is that Ghanaian fabrics don't have sizes. Fugu, kaftan, kaba. Now, if you want to sell to a global audience, people will buy online. They are not going to come to Ghana to fit.
And President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbi Afede, has appealed to the Commission of Inquiry into the creation of new regions to ensure fairness in their decision-making. He insisted any attempt to compromise fairness would defeat the purpose of the exercise and create disputes. Togbi Afede was speaking at the House of Chiefs meeting with the Commission in Ho.
The Commission of Inquiry into the creation of new regions has begun wider consultation and public education after its preliminary works endorsed the 2016 campaign promise. This week is dedicated to the Volta region, one of the regions earmarked to be split. The meeting with the House of Chiefs was the second and seeks to keep stakeholders abreast with the tenets of the constitutional mandate. Minister for Regional Reorganization and Development Dan Kweku Botwe and the chairman of the Commission on the Creation of New Regions, Justice Stephen Brobe, addressed the meeting.
And I do your attention to the fact that Chapter 2 of our Constitution talks about the territories of Ghana. And it has only 2 chapters, only 2 articles, Article 4 and 5. And I implore that as much as possible, we shall all try to study and address ourselves to the provisions of the Constitution, Article 5.
These consultations are fact-finding in nature and will assist the Commission in forming a view on whether there is a need and substantial demand for the creation of a new region in the northern part of the Volta region. There is therefore a duty on all of us to ensure that we chart a course that is ultimately in the best interest of our people.
President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbi Ahweda, called for absolute fairness and transparency in the decisions-making process.
If there has to be development, of course, there must be peace and there must be unity. That is why in the conduct of this exercise, that will determine whether or not a region is created, everything must be done to ensure that there is fairness, so that the outcomes will be acceptable to the majority and invariably to all.
The consultative meeting continues across the region to Saturday, January 20 at Ho, Krachi, Nkwanta, Pasa and Nsuta Buem.
And rural communities facing water crisis will be supplied clean water by the end of this year. Water for Rural Africa project is constructing boreholes across rural communities in Ghana and Africa. Polluted water sources will also be turned into fresh water under the project.
Sustainable Development Goal 6 targets universal access to safe and affordable drinking water for all by 2030. However, dwindling water supplies owing to increasing drought, desertification and depletion of water bodies threatens the goal. Currently, 40% of people across the globe are hit by water scarcity. That's according to the United Nations. In Somalia alone, 615,000 people are displaced by the drought.
We still find people so badly impoverished that they still cannot drink clean water. I think it's a serious indictment on us. Togo next door has been asking for water for years. There's no reason why we cannot be providing, clean water to the people in Togo. And yet so much of it is entering the sea.
Ghana, with most water bodies polluted, access to clean water is a challenge. Dams, dugouts and rivers serve most rural dwellers, but majority of these are drying up. The Rural Water for Africa is stepping in with the construction of boreholes in rural communities across the country.
What is our corporate policy when it comes to addressing water and sanitation? When it comes to government institutions, how critical do we look at this? Do we need to see children dying before we hold conferences to address it as a critical issue? What is the level of investment that African governments are doing in addressing this very critical issue?
Launching the Water for Africa project, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Peter Amewu, says Ghana could plunge into water crisis if measures are not taken to protect its water bodies.
If the extent of destructions of our forests, the approach to climate change issues, and our resistance to conduct environmental sustainable practices continue, then 2030, we may, as a country, Ghana, be importing water.
Stakeholders emphasized the need to conserve water sources and the ecology in general. Under the project, 20 boreholes have already been constructed in the Volta region and 1,000 more scheduled to be constructed by the end of 2018.
And that's a wrap for News at 10. Thank you very much for making time. Up next is Sports Unlimited.